Hey folks, man, this is Logan, and I'm joined as always with my co-host. We got Cyclops.
Hey.
And we are back for another episode of Classes of Cinematics. And today, since it's kind of hot right now, we thought we'd go ahead and talk about X-Men from the year 2000. You know, since X-Men 97 is on everyone's minds. Mm-hmm. And this is what this episode today is going to be about. So let me give you the synopsis. They are children of the atom, Homo superior, the next link of the chain of evolution. Each was born with a unique genetic mutation, which at puberty manifested itself in the extraordinary powers. Yeah, so basically they get powers once they hit puberty.
That was one hell of a synopsis.
Hold on, I'm still going.
Okay.
In a world filled with hate and prejudice, they are feared by those who cannot accept their differences. Led by Xavier, the X-Men fight to protect a world that fears them. They are locked in a battle with former colleague and friend Magneto, who believes humans and mutants should never coexist. And I remember when this came out and going to the theaters, and this was hot because this is like my favorite comic book ever, yo. And to get a movie built based on that, man, it was a crazy time, man. Everyone was super excited, man, you know, to see how this thing developed. I think it did pretty good at the box office, too, man, you know.
For me, it was not only was it a dope comic book, but it was my favorite animated series. In the 90s, the X-Men animated series, like we talked on how Disney's rebooting it, but when this first came out, it was, it sent shockwaves through Saturday morning cartoons, and to see that adapted into a film for me was, it hit me the same way when I saw the Turtles in live action. And the cool thing for this story, even though it's choppy, this movie, this story, it does kind of feel like a standalone film. It strays from the comic book material heavy, but it was heavily influenced by the animated series. And you can kind of tell that with the way the story arc goes. But the one thing I do like and appreciate is that they never lose sight of the core makeup of the story, which is civil rights. You know what I mean? That is what the X-Men story is.
Yeah, that's kind of what's underlying, with this thing, man. Mm-hmm. It is about acceptance and, even though people are different, there's no reason to treat them different. And the way these mutants are prosecuted in this world, in this universe, it parallels, minorities in our world, in the real world. So it's kind of cool. And you kind of got these two figures, Magneto and Professor X, and they're both trying to deal with the same problem, but dealing with it in different ways, Yeah,
one wants to rule peacefully or coexist peacefully, and one wants to kind of coexist with an iron fist. He's like, you know what, we are stronger. Magneto is like, we are the stronger, more superior species. You will not undermine us. We will, stand at the top of the totem pole, where Xavier is like, man, we can all live peacefully together. And, they both, stand strong with their values. But speaking of Magneto,
I think Magneto, he realizes, or at least in his mind, he's looking at it like the humans will never accept us. You know what I'm saying? He would like to probably be this coexisting guy, but he knows in his mind, he's convinced that no matter what we do, how we try to appease them, they're still going to come after us. You know?
And one of the things about Magneto is, like, right out the gate, we see something, the opening scene, which also, it keeps this film grounded. It lets us know as a viewer that this is taking place in a real world setting. Mm-hmm. But it gives us a full understanding of where Magneto's hatred is coming from, because he was a Holocaust survivor, and it shows him in a concentration camp where he is separated from his mom, and he spazzes out, starts bending the gates and screaming and yelling, and all this.
It's kind of crazy because as a character, he's doubly prosecuted. He's persecuted for being, Jewish, for what happened to his family, and later on for being a mutant. So he's soaking in the effects of hatred. You know what I'm saying? And that's crazy, man.
And this hatred is coming from the hands of humans. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So
it totally makes sense.
Understandable.
Yeah. That's probably my favorite part of this film. I think this film has one of the strongest comic book film openings ever, because it was just so effective. I don't know who the little kid was that was playing the young version, but that little dude was acting his ass off in that scene, bro. I caught the chills when I first saw that scene, man. Yes. And even rewatching it still hit me so hard, dude.
Yes. He's just, the way he's screaming and crying, it feels real. And I really like that they did that, because, like I said, it reminds us as viewers that even though we are watching a comic book based film, this is going to feel like real time. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that I think that also kind of helps this story excel with it. You know, kind of creating its own story arc, and like I said, straying away from the source material with the comic books. And this, with this, you know, they kind of, which I'm kind of on the fence with how I feel about this. Personally, I like when you're talking about a unit, you're talking about a team, you shine light on all team members, but this is a Wolverine-based film.
They definitely put him to the forefront. I think he became just a popular character, period. You know what I'm saying?
Favorite.
Yeah. You know, and that's just, it is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, it's like the equivalent. You can't talk about X-Men without talking about Wolverine. Like you can't talk about the Bulls without talking about Jordan. You know what I mean? And Bryan Singer and the screenwriters and everybody involved, they knew this. And the wild thing about it is that before this film, Hugh Jackman was unknown. Nobody knew who he was.
I didn't know who this mug was.
Nobody knew who he was.
I was like, who is this Bama they got trying to play me?
Yeah, exactly.
He's not even as handsome. Come on, son. Like, and he kind of scrawny too, man. Like you look at him, like
he was not. And one of the things that I noticed too is that in comic book world, Wolverine is 5'2". Hugh Jackman is 6'2", so they really had to work that camera. It was almost like in reverse what they do with Tom Cruise. Like they make Tom Cruise look big, they had to make Hugh Jackman
wild,
look
man.
small.
I would have let him. Like casting wise, I would have been fine if he was 5'8". It would have just, average movie guy that we know, like they do tricks to make these guys look larger than life, But it's crazy that they picked him.
The wild thing,
I think it's mostly just because the face.
He had the face, but the wild thing about him is like not only was he unknown in the acting circuit, but he didn't know much about the X-Men or Wolverine as a character at all. Like he was quoted to say when he first got put on, once he got hired, that he spent a lengthy amount of time watching National Geographic stories on wolves, thinking that Wolverine was wolf-based, and someone had to remind him
that's a different animal.
That he's a Wolverine, the biggest weasel, the mascot of Michigan. You know what I mean? And
that's funny.
And then also he said that it took him a while to really find his character, how he wanted to portray Wolverine, because about 3 weeks in, he still hasn't found it. Like, he didn't get the voice down packed. He didn't get the mannerisms right. He didn't really have that. Like, Wolverine has a certain demeanor, an attitude, a chip on his shoulder. And Hugh Jackman just wasn't really, he was missing the mark slightly. And you can see it in certain scenes.
And also, he's, where is he from? Because he's Australian, I believe, right? So the accent, the talk, the speech. Nah, he's not. Wolverine's Canadian.
Well, Wolverine's Canadian.
But I'm pretty sure. I think
Jackman. It might be Australian.
I think so. Let me see.
And then Bryan Singer and another producer Jackman said that 3 weeks in that they were gonna fire him. They were gonna replace him with somebody else. But then
that's crazy.
He credited his wife for giving him the oomph to push through. And I mean,
I have theories why they might have went with him as an unknown, because the rest of this cast is stacked, man. Just from Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, you're paying some bread, and you got Famke Jensen, who was also making some noise back then. She just coming off GoldenEye and had been doing a bunch of other films at this time too. So you're paying out some money. Halle Berry, Halle Berry
and Halle Berry were both in James Bond.
So it ain't much money left to go with these other, to get, maybe they could have cast a bigger guy for Wolverine, but like I said, I think Jackman's look probably won him out. It's like, we don't have to do a lot here. He's halfway looking like this guy. Give him a funny wig or tease his hair up.
And also what they were able to do because of his lesser known value, they were able to sign him to multi-film deals on one swoop. So all of the other installments of this film, like they were able to kind of get him for a basement price, even though his stock rose. But I mean, I think that he did good. Like I said, I mean, as the story goes through, I mean, it's heavy focus is on Wolverine, and then I like what they brought with Rogue, who was played by Anna Paquin. kind of just.
I think she was kind of new too back then. She had done not a whole lot, you know, at the time.
No, she was new, and you know, outside of Magneto, she was the only other character to get an origin story. So it was cool to kind of see them kind of shine a little light on her character arc, and then kind of have them get together and then kind of be the gel that really keeps this story going. As you know, Magneto, you know, for him to really execute his plan, and ultimately he wants to turn all humans into mutants, and you know, so that way, you know, just kind of a form of ethnic cleansing or genocide or whatever you want to call it.
I feel like that was more of like an attack. Like that was some get back.
He was like, you know what, y'all gonna feel it.
Because anybody that felt that, they might have. I almost think it'd been kind of cool to see that scene, to see people flipping out doing powers, but they ain't had no budget, you know. And then because essentially, he found a way to use this device that, you know, it gives humans powers, man. So trying to flip the tables is like we're the different ones. What happens when we're all the same? Exactly. Then what? You know, like when we, you know. So yeah, it's crazy, man. It has interesting stuff, I think, going on with ideas. I think just the execution is a little wonky, man. But speaking of the characters, man, I do love what we got with Patrick Stewart here as the professor. This is perfect casting, bro. Like I don't think you get anyone else. Like, this is the professor, bro. Even now, when the new movie ideas come on, I'm just like, dang, who can replace this guy? He's just and because Professor X has that iconic bald headed look, and to get Stewart to do it, he's like he just feels so familiar, man. Like
Charles Xavier. Even when you look at the old school comic books, it looks like a spitting image. In the animated series, it looks like a spitting image. I mean,
even without you know, seeing this, he's how I imagine. Like, even on the cartoon, it's almost like the same guy, except this Charles is a little bit more, you know, he has the more proper kind of speech.
The voice, the demeanor. I mean, like he is Xavier to the T. And I mean, he bodies his role. I mean, as, you know, the one who kind of brings the X-Men together, this almost like this teacher role, you know, and he's just so, you know, he's so smart with executing the plans that he wants to set forth, and also, just like I said, just ultimately keeping things peaceful, and he doesn't stray from that. But for every good,
he's a great mentor too. Like, he reassures because they've all got their own issues. It's kind of crazy because their powers are manifested differently, and they've all been affected in their lives differently by their abilities. You know. And
the thing is,
he's helping everyone work through that in different ways.
Yes, and that happens with the older mutants and also with the younger ones, because this transformation does happen to them at a younger age, and with him opening up the school to kind of help bring them in, not only show them how to use their powers, but also give them a newfound sense of confidence and purpose, and, you know, kind of guiding them on the right path, hoping that they're not fueled by rage or hatred, you know what I'm saying, because it is easily understandable depending on how their mutant powers.
Bro, I'm using my powers for bad off rip, yo. Depending on what I get, like, I gotta get this money, pay some bills, pay these bills. Like,
I hear you, bro.
Hey, let's go.
Hey, man, I hear you, dog. Hey, like I said, but you know, and to your point, that for every ultimate good, there is an ultimate bad, and Ian McKellen as Magneto, I mean, he really embodies what you would expect Magneto to be if in real time. I mean, in this film, I mean, the only thing that he can't give is the stature. Like in a lot of the books in the animated series, I mean, Magneto is like he's super old, but he's like big swole.
I think they get that a little bit better in the later films once Fassbender comes in and we're dealing with the younger interpretation of Magneto. But I like Magneto because, honestly, I don't really look at him as evil. Like he's a more by any means necessary guy, man. You know, I think Stan Lee made a famous comparison of these characters. He was like, Professor X will be MLK, and Magneto is more like Malcolm X. You know, it's just different. Like I said, the same goals, but different ideals and different ways they go about achieving them, man. You know?
Yes. But, you know, but the ultimate, the outcome, and that's the thing too. The outcomes could be significantly different, depends on who, you know, kind of front runs the race. But, you know, outside of them, you know, this is where, you know, this movie kind of starts to swing and miss for me.
Hold on, let me get back on Magneto, man. I love the characterization, though, at least of McKellen here, because this film, really the only new characters here we got are Rogue and Wolverine. Everyone else seems like they've been around, they're established, they've been dealing with each other for a while. Like the way Charles, my old friend, all the time, when they're addressing each other. So this has been going on for a while, and we don't know how long. This could be decades. So it makes sense that their ages are the same, because I think in the comics at one point they were friends when they were much younger.
Yes.
I'm talking about maybe in their 20s or 30s. They were, so see them as older and, both kind of grizzled vets of this conflict that they've been having. That's kind of cool, man.
What I also like is that even though they are on opposite sides of the fence, there is a mutual respect between them. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not going out there really trying to hurt each other or hurt, the different teams. You know what I'm saying? They just want to execute their plans, in the best way possible.
So Magneto is like, if I have to, I'll shoot this old lady.
And Professor X is like, well, and if I have to do what I need to do to stop you, I'm gonna do it.
I'll do
what I'm saying? So I'm with that, but once you get out of like the heavy hitters for this story arc, that's where it gets a little choppy for me, because I feel like the other members of the team are being underutilized. Like,
heavily, man, heavily.
Femke Jansen.
This is what happens when you don't have comic books on the set.
Yeah,
Femke
Jansen as Jean Grey. I think that
I like her as Jean Grey.
She did good. She actually was able to play a significant role in this, because as we cruise through the story, something happens to Professor X, and as we know, whether it be in the comic book animated series or in this, that she is the only other one that has the same abilities as Professor X. She's the only one that
similar abilities,
like can work Cerebro and these things.
I feel like she has some empathic abilities and being able to sense people's feelings, but she's not able to get into the mind like Professor.
They're not
X.
as refined.
Her power really is more about moving things with her brain. She's more telekinetic, and Professor's more telepathic. And there's a difference. Like, he's more in your brain, she's more using her brain to, and some of their things overlap, a little bit, and he's training her a little bit up to help use her stuff and get her stronger. But
because he needs a solid wingman. But I feel like two of the most underutilized were James Madison as Cyclops and Halle Berry as Storm. These are significant characters. Cyclops is one of the original X-Men from the first issue comic, and he's also the for the most part, he is the leader of the team leader of the crew, even though Wolverine don't like him and a couple other people kind of.
I don't like him generally. He's kind of.
He's pompous and he's arrogant.
And he's Wolverine calls him. I call him a Boy Scout. You know what I'm saying? And that conflict happens again.
He kind of seems like a sucker.
And, I feel like if he wasn't a mutant, he'd be a dickhead cop.
Yes.
That's out here writing tickets for no reason. Yep. But you still gotta respect him, and I don't think this director respected him, because you're especially when you ban the comic books. And you're focusing just on Wolverine when Wolverine was a side character. I read the books back in the day, and Cyclops, Jean Grey, and the core team were in most of the issues. Every now and then, Wolverine would just run off, and you get a couple issues where he's out doing his own thing, and he's crossing paths with characters, and he might come back to the group and help them with something, but he was never a main character. He was a fan favorite, but he wasn't the main
Wolverine
guy,
he wasn't even introduced until the issue of Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, and then he wasn't brought on board to be a full on X-Men until the Ultimate X-Men came out, which was almost 100 issues later. So Cyclops and Storm, they are prolific.
Especially Storm, man. Storm, the amount of lines she has in this film is just it's atrocious, man. And for her to be so important, I think you could have divided some of this stuff up and spread the love around. Have her maybe having some of the scenes with Rogue and just spread it's kind of atrocious, man. And like when you look at just how the execution, man. How are we getting more why are we putting more emphasis on Toad's special effects than Cyclops' blaster and Storm?
Yeah, it's crazy. I be shooting shit.
It's crazy,
and
bro.
Everyone needs to see that.
If it's Toad wouldn't even be in this movie if it was up to me, bro. Like we could have just got a no-name goon if we didn't have a budget to make another mutant.
And also, I was reading up, and they just like Magneto and Rogue had origin stories, they did have an origin for Cyclops and Storm, whereas Cyclops, it showed him in a high school setting, and he kind of shot up the boys' bathroom with his laser eyes, and then Storm, it showed her back at home, and she did some kind of weather manipulation that kind of destroyed the village, which I think that also would have kind of gave them a little bit more of legs to stand on and made them feel more important. Like, everyone feels secondary behind Wolverine and Rogue. You know what I'm saying? Which and then, as you cruise through the school, I thought it was cool to have all of the cameos, but I mean, to have Iceman should have had more of a bigger role. I mean, he should not have been a child. He was he was original.
Who was the guy, the flame guy, right?
That's Pyro.
Pyro. Pyro's in there,
and Pyro ends up joining the evil side. I think the Brotherhood.
X2. He joins Magneto's side.
The only one that we should have seen in the school that I did like seeing was Jubilee. You know what I'm saying? Because that was a cool teaser, but that was not comic accurate because this dude don't read the comics. This guy just disrespected the material and I'm not even coming from a point where you can't mess with the material at all, but like, come on, man, like there's like, this thing is at a deficit because you didn't disrespect the material. And there's times where people take deviations and it comes out good, but this ain't one of them, Like, it's not, it doesn't make for make the film better. Prime example, like The Shining, okay? Stephen King's novel, great. Stanley Kubrick's, rendition on the film, great. It worked. Yeah. This it's slightly different. One thing I will applaud them for, I like what they did with Mystique. Yes. Rebecca Romijn, she was awesome. They did a great job with her, not just with the look, with the aesthetic. We'll get into that, but I mean, she really, she took the time to do the research on her character, like the movements, the mannerisms, just the morphing into people, just the way that she could just kind of cruise through and navigate through any situation and manipulate people. She was a master manipulator, not just because she could morph, but because she would, really take the time to mentally screw with the people or the situations that she's trying to accomplish. Yeah, I definitely like her characterization because she would pop up in the comics from time to time, and I don't think they really gave her a lot of shine in a lot of cases. She had a relationship with Rogue, she's her mom.
But to show her in this field doing, like, using her powers on that, it makes sense why, honestly, like she's not as powerful physically as these other characters, but I think she's probably one of the most deadliest as an agent of chaos, being able to sneak in and do whatever. Like the scene where she impersonates the congressman or impersonates other characters, or even the manipulation scene where she shows up as Pyro, and she acts like him, and she tells
as Iceman. Yeah, it was Iceman.
Oh my bad, that's Iceman. And she tells Rogue, and he tells Rogue like, "Yo, they don't like you here, man. You should leave. Just leave." And I'm like, "Yo," and that's perfect because she's working with Magneto, and that's to get Rogue out in the open so they could come in and swoop in and grab her. Because that was cool. I definitely did like that, man. And she's great in this.
She's so good at what she does. It shows after she infiltrates the school, after she sends Rogue on her way to kind of lure her to Magneto. She's able to then get into Cerebro just by changing her eye structure, and the computer can't even tell the difference between Professor X's eye and her version.
She's just that good of a mimic. But also, though, like, I don't know, that's where the script fails me a little bit, because I'm like, wouldn't you be able to sense that someone's around you? Like, you're this powerful psychic. I feel like you should be able to. But also, I think there's this weird thing where they say Professor X trained himself so he's not prying into your mind if you don't want him to. And I'm like, I don't know, bro. That's kind of weird. That's like a thin line. I think when Logan's jerking off in his room, you just ignore it. You know what I'm saying? You know what's going down, but so how is it? It messes me up to think that she could come in here and Jean or you know what I'm saying? Or Professor can't sense him, or Logan can't smell her. That's kind of weird to me, yo. But it's movies, so you kind of.
And then, you know, I like what they did with Sabretooth, played by Tyler Mane. Because, I mean, you got to work really hard to mess this character up. He doesn't do a lot of talking. He's big, he's burly, he's beastly.
Oh, you mean Sabretooth?
Sabretooth.
I don't like this at all, bro.
I thought that it was cool that they tried to give him a different look, almost kind of humanize him a little bit.
I don't like the idea of Sabretooth running with Magneto, man. It just don't seem like that would be something he would do. Like, I mean, I know there are versions of him on the team in the comics, but it's still weird to me, bro.
You know what affected me more, what I disliked even more, was the fact that they didn't tap into the lore and the origin of the beef between Sabretooth and Wolverine. Yeah. Like Professor X is telling Wolverine, is like, the one who tried to abduct you in Rogue was Sabretooth. He works with Magneto. And Logan, Wolverine's like, what? Like he didn't know who he was. I feel like Sabretooth been beefing for years.
But they might develop into that just based, from where this thing starts, because that's something where it could be a repressed memory, because in the origin of Sabretooth and Wolverine were on the same Weapon X team.
Exactly.
Before the experimentation, before they made him,
when you look at
Weapon X.
They're similar in, with
I think that's the significance of the taking a dog tag. Like Sabretooth remembers, but Logan doesn't.
Right.
That's something that the trauma, he repressed that,
And then we get Ray Park as Toad, which, just... I applaud the fact that they even gave Toad any burn, because, I mean, outside of when I used to collect the comic book cards and the brief interactions I saw with him in the animated series, Toad is just like, he's a very forgetable villain.
Yeah,
but they tried to make him significant.
He's corny. Like
he is.
He is. This is you're getting the lateral as far as mutant powers, man. And one of the ones that would suck is if you got the deformed mutant power, you know what I'm saying? That would suck, and where you just stuck as being this weird creature
Human
versus just looking normal but having a power.
But then I wonder, because he's got the reptile tongue and he can shoot the spit, but does he smell like a frog?
He looks. His face has some weird stuff going on. Yeah, I hate Toad, man. I wish they, like I said, if they could have just got a nondescript villain to play this part, or maybe have a young Striker being on working with Magneto or some shit. I don't know.
Of villains that they could have picked,
there's a lot, man,
to add along with that.
Yeah.
But with that, I do applaud them for the makeup effects and the costume designs. I think that it was a really cool idea, and I appreciate the new approach they give the X-Men, the black leather suits, because it's one thing in comic books and in cartoons to see everybody running around in spandex, but even Stan Lee has said it himself. He was like, man, to see it in real life, nah, it's not hitting so much.
Yeah, but see, I'll kind of push back against that a little bit. I think this is also coming a little bit from that comic book band on the set thing. I think you could have used variations of those suits and updated them. Like if you look at what the Avengers did, I'm used to Cap now. It's not the comic book version of the suit, but it bears a lot of similarities. Spider-Man looks like Spider-Man. Falcon looks Falcon. Even when you look at Black Panther, he looks like he did in the books. So it's different.
The MCU was able to take where this film might have misstepped and kind of enhance and make it better. But one thing that I think is cool is
if Storm had her old school, the comic book look with
they still gave her the wings. The one thing that I do I like that they kind of, it's all cohesive. It's almost like they're all wearing team jerseys. You know what I'm saying? But where they fell short,
and they even poke fun at that. We're supposed to wear spandex.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I like that they kind of hit on that. But
Dick Bryan Singer,
where they fell short with the X-Men suits, they picked it up double time for the villains. Like what they did with Mystique. You know what I'm saying? Just having her all
see, look, I like their
she had to see,
but the CGI on her was really wonky. This is a weird film because parts of it look great, but then the CGI, and this at a time where CGI was okay, but it's it's barely, some of the effects, when Storm throws the lightning, I'm like, yo, this looks kind of bad, bro.
Yeah, the CGI was not that good, but when Mystique wasn't transforming, I mean, dude, she had on over 110 prosthetics. I mean, she really,
that's hours in the makeup chair.
Hours. And then another thing.
So let me ask you this: who you, Jennifer Lawrence Mystique or Rebecca Romijn Mystique?
I would go with Jennifer Lawrence.
For real? Yeah. I'm going with Rebecca Romijn because I think hers is more, it got to the point with the later films where Jennifer Lawrence didn't even want to put up the makeup no more. It was just a CGI, just like, yo. And I'm like, yo, I think this kind of suffered a little bit, and I don't think her character was as well portrayed as Rebecca Romijn did it in this one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was a bigger fan of like the First Class. I think the whole.
I mean, it's a better film. I think. Yeah, you know, but what if? Well, I think if Romijn had that First Class budget and know-how, I think, man, I don't. I don't know.
But you know, some of the other special effects, they really did hit though. Like, I love that part when after Magneto, after he abducts the senator gets, mutated or whatever, and then he's like kind of walking, and all of the metal pieces are kind of forming the bridge as he's walking. That looked really cool.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff.
And then when the senator, he's kind of pushing his face up against the
bars, yeah.
And I mean, he now has a water ability, and if you look at his face, it almost like he kind of starts to look like a fish as his head pops through the bars. Mm-hmm. That was like, that was really cool.
I didn't like Wolverine's claws, bro. They were like thick and weirdly formed when they should be like razors, but long. You know what I'm saying?
They look real.
They look like long ass triangle. Like they were too thick. Like it was weird looking, man. Yeah, I didn't like that. And they didn't give a damn about Storm and Scott Summers. They didn't give a damn about him. With the beam,
visor up,
the beam. It was, and the visor was looking like it looked like your joint, but with big headphone cuffs on the side, bro. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we
my laser beam is so loud. I gotta
man, it was crazy, man. But yeah, man. But I mean, the effects they're passable, man. You got to look at the time, like 2000. There was better stuff being done, but like I said, man, I think this budget for this thing they said was $75 million,
which was $25 million short from what films were getting, to be summer blockbusters. So they didn't really believe in the comic book film at that
This
time.
wasn't even coming out in the summer. I think it was cold when I went to see this. What's the release date on this thing, man?
It was, let's see here, July 14th.
Oh, for real? It was? Dang, why do I feel like it was cold when I seen
July
it?
14th.
I don't know.
And then, but off of a $75 million budget, they pulled back $296.3 million.
Yeah, worldwide, which was a modest success for, like I said, what was the returns. Like, I think nowadays that might be considered kind of a failure, but it's just good enough. And it was good enough to get sequels done. I think they did 2 more sequels, X2, which is probably my favorite. I've never seen Last Stand, yo. Yeah. I just haven't.
You're not missing much.
I've refused to watch it. The shit that I saw from it, I was like, I can't do this. But I did like Last Stand a lot better than this,
Yeah, X2, because X2 actually, they were able to kind of dive more into, they went back to the source material with the comic books, number one. But then also, the effects were better. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And you see it right out.
And Hugh got jacked, man.
Oh yeah, he did.
There was that one scene in the beginning of that where he was doing this Wolverine stuff, and it was cool, man.
And that was another thing, like in this one, because of the budget restraints. Like I said, they were going to give us Beast. They took him out. They took out scenes with the Danger Room. They took out the 2 origin stories with.
So they filmed those scenes and took. You know what? They probably got that. The CGI estimate, and it was like, we gotta make some cuts.
This one was too many restrictions, and it also had too many things going against it. But I think with all that,
I think you might have got this. Like, this probably could have been a lot better if we just focused on some of these character intros and maybe had a smaller focus plot, because they got into the stuff with the senator and all that, and this is okay. It definitely expands the world and gives you exposition, but it leads to a really anticlimactic finish, man. Watching this morning and seeing it, I was like, damn, bro. Like this, there's a little bit of fighting at the end. Wolverine's going through the corridors. He has a fight with Mystique, and there's some strange stuff going on there. I don't know how the hell she went up that pipe upside down backwards. It's just logistic wise, and I'm like, bro,
she's a morpher, not a spider.
Like, Bryan Singer pisses me off because I feel like he's one of these directors that doesn't know when to call in help.
Yeah,
every like especially especially for some of this action. Like, these fights should definitely be better, choreographed better. Even if you got a minimal budget, you still see wire work in this, but it's just used ineffectively. There's bad camera angles. Like we were talking earlier because you had the cinematography written down, and I was like, that opening scene is the best this film looks. And then after that, we're kind of treated with an uneven experience, man. And there's parts of it that look really bad. Like when one of the scenes is when I think Storm hits my man.
It's Toad with the lightning.
Yeah, with the lightning. He goes flying into the water. You can see him just disappear. There's no real splash. It was like a CGI. It's sloppy work, bro. Like,
I mean, like I said, this one, it definitely had a lot of restraints and restrictions. I mean, and they shine through. But you know, I do give this credit for trying to create its own story arc and kind of give the franchise, you know, a leg to stand on in a sense, because without this film, we wouldn't have the sequels. Now, granted, I firmly believe that with the success of the MCU, they are going to reboot this and it will be successful. But, you know, for this to come out when it did, I mean, just off nostalgia alone, it was really cool to see that.
Yeah, you gotta at least appreciate it for that, for getting the ball rolling, because Spider-Man, the first one with Tobey Maguire, that comes out in 2002, and I don't think that gets made without this having the success of this film. And even X2 did great, you know, for the box office, did even better. So yeah, this, I mean, it's not perfect, it's not great by any means, but it definitely is a big milestone in, you know, filmmaking and in comic book filmmaking in general, bro. Like, you know.
Yes, because I mean, it like I said, it opened up a lot of doors, and you know, I still remember just how appreciative I was to be able to go to the theater and see this. You know what I'm saying? Just how much I enjoyed the fact that they even made X-Men into a movie. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you know, I mean, like I said, the flaws are definitely there, but you know, it's you can overlook them. Now, the rewatchability with this,
it wasn't very good for me, bro.
Yeah, it's not that, like, this one probably is one of my favorite in the franchise if we're excluding Logan and we're not talking about First Class. We're just talking about the first three. I appreciate this one for, you know, creating the stability block for the other two to stand on. Yeah,
I like First Class, and I like Days of the Future Past, or what was the one where Wolverine goes back in time. I think that's
Days of Future Past.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, my favorite of all of them were First Class.
Took some liberties.
I thought Logan was really cool.
I still haven't seen that.
Oh, that one's dope. That one's super dope. But then that one is also an expansion off of this world. I mean, you know what I mean? So I mean, this one, you gotta take the good with the bad, but like I said, just off nostalgia alone, I will still, you know, watch this one, you know, periodically from time to time if I want to dive into it. But if I really want to watch some X-Men, I'm watching that X-Men animated series, especially that X-Men 97. Y'all need to check
going
that
hard,
out.
Bro. Yeah, man. Yeah, I do my thing in that, you know. I do my thing, you know.
That party has started there doing keg stands.
He's all right too, man. You know, but I'm the real star here, man. You know.
Gambit's always been my favorite. I like Gambit, Modi.
But I think we can wrap this up, folks, man. You know what I'm saying? It's been good kicking it and revisiting this film, man. But you can check us out, man, right here again next week, man. We coming back, man. We coming back twice a week these days, man. You know what I'm saying? And it seems like y'all are being really responsive to that, man. Thanks, folks, for checking us out. Make sure you subscribe, you know, like the channel, tell your friends about us, man. Buy a shirt, man. That helps us out.
Leave a comment.
Yeah, check us out on Classics of Instagram, Classics of Cinematics on Instagram. And you catch me, Monk, at Classics of... Dang, I messed all that up. And you catch me at Monkey Blood on Twitter and Instagram.
And this Bobby Blockbuster.
That's how I know the show been long, because the beer is kicking in. Like, usually we get out of here before I get too slurred up and inebriated. You know?
Buzzing. It is Bobby Blockbuster. You can catch me on the next show.
All right. Peace. Bub.